Hi, it's me, Michael Forrest. You've just caught me having a sip of tea. Obviously, I couldn't press record after having my sip of tea. Anyway, look, Michael and Ivanka's grand podcast mug. I've just realised I can sort of get it to very focus. I don't know where it thinks it's focusing on, so it's very hard to... There you go. Podcast mug, you can get that. I'm going to show you what I've been doing this week. So let's not muck around anymore, because this is a very important video for my future self to watch. This is what we're talking about. You can see it's been a fairly consistent thing this week. So just about half of my time, 24 hours basically, getting this Changes website down. And it's mostly been around content. And I'm actually feeling pretty good about where this is now. So first I'll just give you an overview, and it may look indistinguishable from before, but I promise you loads of stuff has been added. And I'll have to say, it was difficult to figure out what I wanted to say in a video. So I will, so I sort of had this, which you can see all the different aspects of it that I want to talk about. And now I'm going to remember to switch back to this screen and show you what I did for this video at the top. Now, usually you just make a video, but it can take quite a lot of production to get a video together. And I decided to make it sort of like a modular video. So there's actually 10 sections in the video, and I'm quite pleased with the sections that I've come up with. Even if I haven't sort of written a final script for it, I can do a first run through it without having to sort of ramp up the production values straight away. Also, I'll mention that a good reason to do it this way is that if I add features, I can just slot that into the playlist instead of having to re-render out a whole video every time. And also I can advertise these individual videos and see which thing people connect with the most, and then maybe like double down on that in terms of features, or double down just in terms of how much I talk about that. So it felt like a good idea and a lot of reasons to do it. And the way I executed that, well, first to come back to all the sort of content creation side of it, I just sort of started writing a load of different slides to try and sort of think about what I might want to say, which this is sort of like the keynote version of that sheet of paper I showed you. And then I ended up, doing another pass, and it sort of looks a bit more like this. And then I used the little record slideshow feature of Keynote to just record each individual video clip. And that then gave me, then uploaded those to YouTube. And that's sort of given me a first pass. I do want to do one more pass, like write a proper script and do a slightly better version of each of these next week before I launch the website. But this was such a big milestone for me. This was like, I was procrastinating on this a lot because it was something I just didn't want to get wrong. And every time I started looking at it, it was like, kind of like, brings up these insecurities about whether I'm even doing anything worthwhile. And this was all towards a deadline of having a meeting with Ian on Thursday, where we talked about, next steps and his marketing ideas and things like that. Ding! Did you hear that? Probably not. So now, but the main thing was going through this content in order. So first thing was I updated this page, which is the subscribe to my mailing list page, to make that look a bit nicer. Don't forget, all of this stuff has got to sort of be completely like adaptive as well, so it has to look right at all scales. So you see, we found a bug. Arrgh. Right, so I've got to make sure all this stuff works at all the different window sizes, which is half the fun. So there was technical stuff still, but yeah, we've got track. So I've said fast and simple mood tracking. It's like sending a tweet, and then we've got this video. And now this might not look like much, but if you see, it's got like a timeline in it, and we sort of scroll up the timeline. Now this I couldn't have done without my spreadsheet import process. So last week I was working on the ability to import into the Changes app like a set of data from a spreadsheet. And then so what I did on Monday was just wrote some content for sort of recently. I wrote a few little entries because Changes only shows you the first few, and then it shows you starred entries. which can have text or not. And then I just created a few different hashtags and just sort of randomly, like weighted, random generated what those values would be. And, put in a few key entries, put in a few changes so that when we sort of finish this little step, I can scroll up through it all and it all makes sense. So, and then sort of be able to do this. Make that little video clip, and it just like brings this page to life. Then the next thing was writing about the random reminders. So I finally wrote this content, it's about mindfulness and all that kind of thing. I linked through to the TED video. I wrote about privacy. I updated the privacy policy to a bit more of a standalone document. And always there is this blog post that I wrote as well about all of the things I'm doing towards privacy. So that's now on the Changes homepage. This I paused and then forgot that I hadn't done it. But yeah, like Changes versus other apps. But what I did do, I don't know if I mentioned that I made this script to download all of my reviews. I realized I could use it to download all of my competitors' reviews. So I just like grabbed a load of sort of the best performing competitors and the sort of mediocre ones, because if you can look at the best ones to see what people love about an app, but you can also see what the mediocre ones, what people complain about in the mediocre ones. So looking at 3-star reviews is really useful, or 1-star, but mainly like 3-star reviews is really useful to read as a developer, because you can sort of really find out what the sticking points are for people. Redesign is ugly, difficult to use. So that I've sort of gathered some data, but I still need to flesh out this screen. But actually, like we're thinking for marketing, we'll probably look at how Changes compares to other apps and make that kind of a selling point, because we do want it to be the best mood tracker, basically. And if that means I have to add another quick feature, that's going to happen. Right, then we've got this screen again. I was able to kind of generate that. Well, it's actually off my real phone. And then this augmented reality screen, I realized I needed the background to be the same as the foreground. And I can't do a transparent video, but this is a video in a frame, but with a rounded edge, which you can just see. It breaks at the widest widths. You can see that I've rounded the edge off, but actually looks really good at all the other widths. So I can sort of show you that, and also it only shows you, there's a live preview, but that's just on devices, and it just hides it, otherwise it's not adding that much. I wrote export your data, I linked into the YouTube series, I linked into the blog posts, I wrote about JSON, I wrote about Realm, linked into Realm Studio. So that's written. Spreadsheets, just a link to the spreadsheets. This is basically just the video that I did. And links to blog posts, that's all good. And then I sort of de-scoped. There was a section that I'll show you what I de-scoped so I don't forget. Let's just load that up. Now, I changed my keyboard shortcuts for switching between screens so that it doesn't happen. It's on numbers so that I don't accidentally do it all the time. But if we just look at index, I'll show you what I de-scoped. For now, where is it? There. Is just I'm just going to also. So we had this, which was like you can't fix everything at once. It's like that. I wasn't quite sure what to write about that, and also to do my handling years of data, I have to assemble quite a lot of, I have to just like make that look good and probably write a blog post around it. So for now, it's easy just to de-scope that, and it actually kind of makes sense. Keep tracking, keep getting better, repeat. Makes sense there. And then it's a nice sort of subscribe to download call to action. I'm just noticing we don't have a get the app call to action, but that's why I go through it and show you. App Store reviews, a couple. Oh yes, I nearly forgot. Like, I've got my blog post about my sad experiences from there. I've got a link to Ian's website, and we aim to be a new kind of company where everybody gets paid the same. We try to avoid the more problematic trappings of late-stage neoliberal capitalism. And I just wanted to make that statement on the website. And so I wrote this blog post, this little kind of page about wealth inequality, and how a lot of the problems come down to overconsumption and inequality. A few individuals hoard the vast majority of the available wealth. This graph is pretty damning when it comes to rich versus poor. the rich are getting richer and richer, the poor are sort of not really, like we're doing more and more. We're producing more and more, yet for some reason salaries don't seem to be growing very much. That is a pretty clear-cut evidence that things have gone wrong somewhere. I do this podcast every week. Go on podcast.com. I hope this coffee doesn't get cold. And I talk about Sumo Cooperative, and I talk about my thing of like I want to pay everyone the same. And I want everyone's time to be... I want to basically split profits equally and value everyone's time the same. I think that can have some really amazing effects. Obviously, I think it would be better if I was in a factory town and because everyone would be near each other. But I think what you could start unlocking by not having the CEO get 100 times more money than everyone else. I think if more people started spreading the value that has been created by the workers more equally, we could all... like the world could be greatly improved. And then I link through to my transparency, my weird year as an indie developer, this whole thing. So that's on the Changes webpage, and I hope some people will come across it. But if they don't, that's fine too. So the Changes website has had lots of love. So that was a little clip from my what I'm doing on Saturdays at the moment, which is a live music stream. You'll notice the footage doesn't look that good. So some time I spent this week was to try and I went down. There's a stage in this building and it had some lights, so I just sort of texted my studio mate and said, "Can I use those?" And so I managed to go down and get some lights. I've rearranged it so that it's facing the wall, and now it's going to look tomorrow. It's going to look a lot more like this. Oh. It's going to look a lot more like this. So isn't that an improvement on that other thing that you just saw? Some lights and some colours, and it's against the back wall. You can see the wires hanging. You can see everything at once. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow and doing another live set. I also I've been watching a lot of Jacob Collier. If you haven't heard of Jacob Collier, as a musician, it's very hard not to be extremely impressed with Jacob Collier. His voice, his relationship to harmony, just his technical ability and musiciansmanship are quite... I've not seen anything like it for a very long time. And he can really explain himself, and he can really sing really nicely and with a massive range, and he can play the piano you don't even know. And then the videos that he makes on YouTube, I don't even know how you do it. It's absolutely incredible. But it's reminding me of the depth of what you can do with music, and just how deep the rabbit hole goes when it comes to that kind of thing. So I'm sort of finding I'm a bit reinvigorated as a musician at the same time. And I'm hoping that I can all this work. I sort of put half-assed energy into it a lot, but I'm hoping if I just start to really get some polish on that, and that potentially, I think it all kind of keys into everything else. Even the fact that I've got these little music clips to break up these little report videos in the podcast, it all kind of comes together one way or another. So I've always been afraid that I'm sort of wasting my time by trying to be a musician, because it's a long time since I thought, I just want to get famous and be famous in a band. When you see that most of the world's most successful, the small number of successful musicians in the world are all just trying to make apps to make some money. So it's, you've got to go look, I've got the time and space to be able to make music when I want to make music. I'm still working on loads of other stuff as I'm sort of demonstrating each week, but this is something I love, and sometimes I forget. So it's nice to get that reinvigorated. So I'll just show you one more last clip, and then we'll say goodbye. So here it is. It's going to be so much better tomorrow. Okay, bye. See you next week. Take care. Hope you're having a nice nice December and it's not too cold.